The Game Awards have been around for over 10 years at this point, and being nominated for Game of the Year is one of the highest honors that any game could get. Let's talk about why this year is the most controversial Game of the Year category since the beginning. Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Luminari and I hope you are having a fantastic day. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Game of the Year nominees for the Game Awards 2024. Warning, there will be some spoiler talk for some of these games. Not too in-depth, but if you want to play these games blind, I highly suggest playing them, coming back, and watching this video. Speaking of, if you like this video, please feel free to drop a like down below, leave a comment about what you think should be Game of the Year, and if you like this content, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. We just dropped a 30-minute Final Fantasy video about a week ago, and let me tell you, it was one of my favorites to create, and I hope that you will watch that and enjoy it as well as I did. Now, let's talk about the Game of the Year. Let me tell you, when I first saw this category, I was ecstatic. I loved every game, DLC, whatever is all in here. I really enjoyed playing each one of them this year. The problem for me is that I am a chronic non-finisher of games. If I enjoy games, I will play them until I hit a point and then I just stop playing them. I don't know why, maybe it's my ADHD, but that is what happens to me. And if I look at all these games, there is only two games that I will say that I have fully beaten, and that is Astro Bot and Balatro. Astro Bot was one of my favorite games of the year this year. I love the way that they put all these different little PlayStation figures into this one game. They really made a really cool platforming game as well, with these cool little challenges that you have to do. And it wasn't just an easy game. It was like Mario, but more challenging, I guess is the best way to put it. And that's not to say that I don't like Mario. I love Mario games. I love the Thousand Year Door. I loved Mario Wonder, but Astro Bot had something super special to it. And I really enjoyed playing Astro Bot, and I played it from beginning to end, and I platinumed the whole thing. So I do think that Astro Bot should be on the Game of the Year list, and I would say most people agree. We're going to skip over Balatro for a second because I'm going to save that for later in the video when we talk about why a lot of people are upset about the Game of the Year categories. And let me tell you, I don't understand why people are losing it about this game, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Now let's talk a little bit about Black Myth Wukong, a game that I am still playing and a game that I am enjoying playing. Right now it's kind of on the back shelf as I'm trying to finish up Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is personally one of my favorite games of the year. But Black Myth Wukong had a little bit of controversy around it, and a lot of people weren't quite sure if it was going to be nominated for Game of the Year, because there was a little bit of controversy with the devs and some of the stuff that they said, and the Game Award tends to not dive into controversy or nominate things that do have a controversy around them unless you are Hideo Kojima and you will always be nominated. That's a joke. I really enjoyed the combat of Black Myth Wukong. I think that Black Myth Wukong itself had a really cool and entertaining combat style. There was so many different ways that you could upgrade your heavy attacks and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know if it constitutes itself as a game that delivers the best experience against all creative fields. The story, while based upon one of my favorite books, The Journey to the West, I really enjoy it. But there's something that loses me in the middle of it. I don't think the storytelling was that great. I think that they could have done it a little bit better. They could have delved into the story a little bit more, and it just felt very disjointed for me. I will say that out of all these games, this is one of my favorite combat experiences on this list. So I understand why it's here. I understand why people enjoyed it. And there's really not that much discussion besides that little controversy that happened. About the game. So I think that that's a fine addition to this list. Personally, not my vote. Now I'm going to move on to the final standalone game, which is Metaphor ReFantazio. And let me tell you, I am about 4 or 5 hours into this game. I love Persona style games. I love JRPGs. They take me months to finish. So I'm not going to delve into what I think about the game because, once again, I am only about 4 to 5 hours into the game at this point, and I really think that I need more to judge the game than just this 4 to 5 hours. But what I can tell you is that if you like the Persona style gameplay, there's that mixed with a little bit of like new sort of team up stuff that I really like. I like the characters a lot. I think the characters are really, really cool. I like that they're grown up and they're adults at this point. The one thing that I do know that really does stink about this game is that Metaphor does not allow romanceable NPCs, which is one of my favorite parts about JRPGs, is getting to know and understand your characters and being able to create that deeper connection with them. Now, let's move on to the 3 games on this list that have caused some spark of controversy around it. I'm going to start with the least controversial to the most controversial, in my opinion, from what I've seen on people on Twitter, and I've seen from people on Blue Sky and Instagram and all these other websites that talk about the game of the year. And I think the least controversial one, the one that I've seen the least discourse about, is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And let me tell you, Final Fantasy VII is one of my favorite games of all time. I love Cloud, I love Aerith, I love Tifa, I love Barret, I love all the characters that you get to meet in this story. And let me tell you, I still have not beaten Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I know that this is a continuing trend among all these games that you are going to hear. I love Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I've put so many hours into it. There's so many side quests that I have to complete. And for me, that is why it takes so long for me to beat the games, because I love getting to know all these characters. But by the time I get to, a good point in the story, my next game that I'm looking forward to is coming out, so I start playing that one. And then this one kind of gets left behind. But let me tell you, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is currently my vote for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. I've put like over 50 hours into this game, and I love the combat. I love the switching between the characters. I love the conversations they have. I love all the side quests. I love how they're telling the main story, but there's little bits and pieces that have changed from the original. I think that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is one of the best games of the year, even though I haven't even gotten to the good part yet. I think that if I do get to there by the end of 2024, this will escalate to number 1 on my list. But for right now, it's sitting about number 2, number 3 on my list for 2024. But I am super excited to continue playing this story after I finish Dragon Age the Veilguard and Black Myth Wukong, because those were the 2 games I started playing before it. And I am super excited to see how they change the ending, or if they change the ending, or whatever happens. Please don't spoil it for me. But the reason this game has controversy around it is because it is a remake technically. It is a game that has existed before. They are just expanding it and putting new spins on things, adding new missions, all that sort of stuff, which for me, I think constitutes it as a new game or a new experience. But I can also understand that you are taking something from another material and trying to make it your own. And I think that is understandable, but I also don't understand why there's a controversy around it. It is its own living and breathing thing. It is telling a story that's been told before, but it is telling it in a completely different way. And I just really enjoy it. And yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up here, because I don't think it's that controversial, but apparently it is for some people. Next, we're going to talk about one of my favorite games of the year. I don't know if it would be a game of the year for me, but it is one of my favorite games of the year, which is Balatro. And Balatro has been getting a lot of hate online, specifically on Twitter, I've been seeing, and a little bit on Reddit, but I've been seeing a lot of hate towards Balatro because people are calling it just a card game. I don't know if you can call Balatro just a card game. I downloaded Slay the Spire when it first came out way back in, I think it was 2017, and I have over 200 plus hours in Slay the Spire. I love card games. Card games are one of my favorite game genres to just sit and waste time in. When I booted up Balatro and played it for the first time, I literally told my wife, you need to keep this game away from me or I will lose myself in it. And I've held myself to a high standard, and I haven't been playing it too much because I know that if I let myself go, this game will get 50 plus hours. And I really wanted to make sure that I am pacing myself and that I am enjoying this game, and I just don't all let it go in one go. Balatro to me has an amazing technical aspect to it. The gameplay loop is amazing, and the way that every time you come back, you want to get to that next ante, you want to get to that next round, because it is super important to do so, because you get more and more things which make it easier to get there eventually. And then once you do get there, there's more things that unlock for you to do. And you gotta do it with this thing, or you can make yourself have a challenge run, or you can try to get all the achievements, which is really hard. Trust me, I'm trying. And I just think it's a great game for being a game. There's no story to it. The gameplay loop is addicting. The gameplay loop is fun. The gameplay loop is exciting. The only thing I knock it off for, and why it's not on my top 5 right now for Game of the Year, which video will be coming soon about Game of the Year, is because it doesn't have a story. And as a gamer, one of my favorite things about video games is telling a story through it. But I understand why this is on the Game of the Year category, and I would not be surprised if it wins, because the gameplay itself is so addicting and the gameplay is so rewarding that I wouldn't mind it being Game of the Year. Finally, let's talk about Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, the DLC that was nominated for Game of the Year. If you have not heard, there was a lot of people that are upset that a DLC has been nominated for Game of the Year. And to be honest, I am one of them. I think that Shadow of the Erdtree should not be nominated for Game of the Year. I think that it is definitely the expansion of the year. And I think that the game itself is very good. But it comes from the base game, Elden Ring. And you cannot have Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree by itself. You cannot go to a store, or you cannot go to the Steam store and buy Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree and just play that. You need the base game Elden Ring in order to play Shadow of the Erdtree. And that's not to say that Shadow of the Erdtree is by far one of the craziest, one of the hardest experiences that I've ever played on my controller. It is ridiculously hard. And it is ridiculously fun. It is just more Elden Ring and is more difficult than Elden Ring. I really think that this should win DLC of the year, not Game of the Year. Game of the Year to me is a standalone experience that you can experience by purchasing that game. Each one of these other games, no matter how you feel about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, whether it being a remake, or you feel about Balatro just being a card game, or you feel Black Myth Wukong doesn't have the greatest story, you can go to a store, you can go to the PlayStation store, you can go to the Steam store, you can go to the Xbox store, and you can buy these games and download them and play them immediately. You cannot go to the PlayStation, Steam, Xbox store, buy Shadow of the Erdtree and play it immediately because you need to buy Elden Ring. That is not what a Game of the Year is to me. On the contrary, to play devil's advocate, I understand that this DLC in itself has enough content to be its own game. I think that people have put 50 plus hours into this DLC, which is about how much you would put in for a normal game, or some from soft games, I guess I would say. 50 plus hours is a lot for a DLC, but it is still not a standalone game. It is a DLC. That is my 2 cents on it. I would love to hear what you have to say about Shadow of the Erdtree down in the comments below, because to me, it doesn't deserve Game of the Year. I think it deserves DLC of the Year, and I would love to hear your thoughts down below. And that about wraps everything up for the video today. Thank you for tuning in. I wanted to try and make this a little bit shorter. I know it's probably still going to end up being about 20 minutes, but I want to hear your thoughts about the Game of the Award nominees and what you think might win, what do you want to win, that sort of stuff, because in a few weeks my Game of the Year video is going to be coming out. I think it'll be coming out, I'll probably schedule it for that Sunday the 30th because I will be out of town then, so I'm going to try and get a video up next Sunday and the Sunday after that as well. So if you enjoy this content, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you like the video, make sure you drop a like, and as I said before, leave a comment down below. I really want to hear your Game of the Year nominees, what you think about the Game Awards, all that sort of stuff. I'm excited to watch it on Thursday, December 12th with everyone else and reacting to all those cool trailers. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!